Welcome back. Let's talk love and money. Finances can be a touchy topic when you're sharing a life with someone, but there are ways to keep moving toward a shared dream in harmony. And we're joined now by Lawrence Sprung, founder of Mitland Financial and author of Financial Planning Made Personal. Lawrence, money is commonly one of the top stressors among couples. What do you see in couples you work with that lifts that stress at the foundational level?
Good morning. And yes, it is a major stressor. And I think one of the most common things we hear about is, should we combine bank accounts? Should we keep them separate? And it's less about, whether you keep the accounts together or separate. It's more about shared values, and really thriving couples are on the same page as far as what they're doing with their money, what their goals are, what their savings plans are. That is far more important than actually where the money sits and who's the quote unquote owner of that account.
Right. So how can couples make sure that they're seeing eye to eye and keep communication open on this topic in a way that's not too laborious, but it does build trust, because there's so much that goes into managing money, emotions, dreams, practicalities of it all. How do you recommend from a practical side that people move forward on this?
Transparency is key, right? And having both members of the couple on the same page is, paramount to that. And I think today we have more tools than ever to keep that transparency in terms of what's going on and what those goals are. So number one, you have to communicate. You have to have that communication with your significant other and be on the same page. And there might be some differences, but come to a mutual agreement. And then having that transparency around what's actually happening in those accounts on a regular basis, like I said, is easier than ever. You can, use a spreadsheet if you want to go more traditional, or there are plenty of apps and tools that you can use where you can both see what's going on in all the accounts that you have as a couple.
And so often the dreams that couples have, you've got personal dreams, you've got shared dreams, whatever it is intimately tied together as you move forward in your life together. How can couples effectively work toward those goals as one unit? You've mentioned some practical tools, and is there more in terms of the way that they approach this?
Yeah, again, I think a lot of this comes to communication. It's so important, and I'll probably say that so many times during our conversation today. But ultimately, that's typically what causes the friction in couples. It's not necessarily the money itself. It's the fact that there hasn't been communication regarding what's going to be done with the money. So, sitting down often, at least every 6 months, and having a chat about what the goals are. Have they shifted? Things change, plans change, life changes. So it's important that you get a baseline of what your goals and objectives are as a couple, and then revisit that every 6 months. And the fact of the matter is, don't put up a fight about a goal that might be 30 years away, because that might very well change. It may be something that you may say, hey, you know what, I'll agree to that now, but let's revisit that over time. So it's more important that you're on the same page, you have that communication so you can go forward with that.
Now, you're speaking about, dreams 30 or more years away. Big dreams take time to accomplish, and often there's a lot of sacrifice involved. What practices will help couples work toward those goals for the long haul?
Well, you want to track them, right? If it's not measured, it's not done. So you want to make sure that you're tracking your progress towards those goals. And as you achieve those goals, it's important to celebrate. I think so many people have a tendency of, hitting their goals and then moving on to the next one. I'm even, I even do that myself sometimes, and I don't take the moment to celebrate that goal. But as a couple, if you had a goal that you set 1, 2, 3 years ago, and now you're on the precipice of achieving that goal, it's important to celebrate it and enjoy it and say, is this what we really want? And are we really celebrating this? And if it is, then go for it and move forward. But it's important to have that tracking mechanism and be aligned so that you can celebrate when you actually hit those goals.
Love that. And it can take some intentionality, even though it would seem so natural to lean towards the good and enjoy your life together and the successes you've made. But on the other side, people may also be avoiding how to deal with tough times. You know, even if you put all of this great advice into place, there are going to be some stressful times that couples will go through. So what do you advise couples to do to ensure that they can navigate these rough patches successfully?
Conflict's going to happen. There's no doubt about it. You know, at some point during, you being together, conflict will happen. But the easiest way to try to avoid that and mitigate that is by having a plan, and having that tracking mechanism and that transparency in those conversations that we've already talked about. Because if you have a plan for when conflict arises, it makes it easier to address in the moment rather than it just coming out of the blue and you both being upset about what's going on. So it's important to have that game plan in place that if and when a conflict arises, how are we going to address that? For example, if you're saving money towards a goal and somebody loses their, or maybe multiple goals, I should say, and somebody loses their employment or their income goes down, you should have a plan in place. What are the priorities of those goals, and what do we stop funding maybe for that short period of time or lower the funding so that doesn't become a conflict at that moment, and you already have the game plan on how you're going to address that specific situation.
Yeah, minimizing those unexpected elements that could lead to more stress and then further conflict. Thank you so much, Lawrence Sprung, Midland Financial. Great to speak with you as always.
Thank you.